Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world, one book at a time. So what are we looking at today? We're diving into a book that helps us understand the very system of empathy and how technology is fundamentally reshaping it. And this really matters because as our digital tools start to mediate more and more of our lives, taking the place of face-to-face conversation and even quiet time alone, the way we connect with each other and even with ourselves is changing in some profound ways.
Our guide for this exploration is Sherry Turkle's book, The Empathy Diaries. Now, you might see the word memoir and think it's just a personal story, but it is so much more than that. Turkle actually uses her own life as a kind of lens, a way for us to see the systems that shaped her, which in turn gave her this unique insight into the technological systems she spent her entire career studying. And believe it or not, it all starts with a family secret.
All right, Section 1, The Detective's Origin. To really get what Turkle is talking about with technology and empathy, we kind of have to go back to the beginning. We need to see how a childhood filled with secrets basically turned her into a lifelong detective.
So, picture this. After years and years of searching, Turkle finally finds her biological father, Charles Zimmerman. She shows up at his door, and his very first words to her, they aren't, "Where have you been?" or "I'm so glad to see you." Nope. He asks this. See, he was so completely wrapped up in his own world, he'd been placing ads for a book he wrote, that he literally couldn't see his own daughter standing right in front of him. That incredible lack of connection, that moment would become a central theme for her entire life's work.
And this is how Turkle puts it. The burden she was handed, trying to figure out all these family secrets, looking for a father who is basically a ghost, she says she honed them into gifts. That whole experience trained her to always look for the story beneath the story, which she calls the inner history of things. And it's that exact skill that she would later apply to understanding the inner workings of technology itself.
Okay, on to Section 2, the empathy equation. This is where we get to the absolute heart of the book's idea, and how technology is, maybe without us even realizing it, chipping away at the very conditions that empathy needs to survive.
So, for Turkle, empathy isn't just some nice, warm feeling. It's a complex process, and it needs three key things to work. It needs time to unfold, it needs the actual, undivided presence of another person, and, this is a big one, it needs us to be okay with ambiguity, with messy, complicated, unresolved feelings. And here's the catch. Our digital systems, which are built for speed, for efficiency, for certainty, they are designed to do the exact opposite. They're designed to eliminate ambiguity.
Which leads us right into Section 3, the logic of the machine. This sets up the real tension of the book. What happens when the logic of our computers starts to become the logic we apply to our own human connections?
Turkle had this brilliant way of describing computers early on. She called them evocative objects. She saw that they weren't just tools like a hammer or a shovel. No, they were objects that we use to think with. Your computer, your phone, it's like a mirror. It reflects back our own ideas about our minds, our emotions, and even what it means to be human in the first place.
And here's the stark contrast you see in that mirror. On one side, you have face-to-face conversation. It's built on vulnerability, on the messy reality of human emotion. On the other side, digital connection. And what does it offer? Control, certainty, efficiency. It lets us edit ourselves, perfect our image, and basically avoid all the hard, awkward work of a real relationship by hiding behind a screen.
Now, you have to remember, this computational way of seeing the world was everywhere around her at MIT. Her famous colleague Marvin Minsky once said, "The mind is a meat machine." Just think about that. In that kind of world, people become information objects. Emotions? They're just bugs that need to be fixed. And relationships? Well, they're just systems to be optimized.
And this is what you get. From the earliest chatbots like Eliza all the way to modern AI, technology has gotten really good at offering us the illusion of companionship, but without any of the real demands of friendship. It's a simulation, one that lets us feel like we're connecting without ever having to be truly vulnerable. And that slowly normalizes the idea that a machine can fill a human role.
Okay, Section 4, the fading room. To really capture this slow, systemic loss of connection, Turkle gives us this one single, really powerful metaphor.
I want you to imagine that our social lives are like a room. And as technology mediates more and more of our interactions, that room starts to slowly lose its soundproofing. Now, the voices are still there. We're all still texting and posting and commenting. We are definitely still communicating. But the depth, the nuance, the resonance you only get from genuine, unfiltered presence, that's what's fading away.
It's like we can all still hear the words, but we're starting to lose the music.
So what do we do? Where does this leave us? Well, that's section 5, empathy, as an outcome. The book really asks us to make a mental shift, to stop seeing our ability to connect as some fixed personal trait and start seeing it as a product of the environment we create.
Ultimately, Turkle argues that we're kind of asking the wrong questions. It's not about whether technology is good or bad. The real question we have to ask ourselves is this: how much do we care about one another? Because the systems we build, the technology we use, it all just reflects our values. And that forces us to decide what we actually want to prioritize in our relationships and in our world.
And her final point is that the solution isn't going to be some new piece of technology. As she puts it so perfectly, we are the empathy app. Empathy isn't something we're just born with. It's an outcome. It's a capacity that we have to cultivate through practice, through real conversation, through solitude, and through the systems we consciously choose to build and live within. For the full long-form deep dive into this book and its ideas, follow the link in the description. If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.